Welcome back. President Trump's aggressive immigration policies are now pushing an already strained court system to its limits. The president has set a goal of 1 million deportations a year. But with a surge in ICE arrests and just over 600 immigration judges working across the country, experts say the long-troubled system is now nearing a breaking point. And joining us now with her reporting, Msnbc White House correspondent Laura Barron-Lopez. And Laura, it's so great to have you as part of the family. I know this is your first appearance since joining the team. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna.
So what are you finding? How are the immigration courts holding up to the president's immigration crackdown?
Well, according to the recently fired immigration judges that I talked to, as well as a number of immigration attorneys, the courts are strained. They are being weakened. Some used words like total eradication, collapse of the courts, essentially that they're on the brink. So since January 20th, when President Trump took office, about 106 judges have either been fired, transferred to other parts of the Justice Department, or have resigned, some of them taking those fork-in-the-road resignations. The majority of them, though, have been fired. And so that essentially leaves an already backlogged system with fewer judges to process all of those immigration cases.
Yeah, help put that into perspective for us. What do their caseloads look like right now for these 600 immigration judges?
Those caseloads are massive. So one recently fired judge that I talked to, who was an assistant chief judge in Chicago, Jennifer Payton, said that now there are only about 14 or so immigration judges in Chicago when they have a caseload of about 220,000 immigration cases pending. So what does that mean? That means there's about 15,000 or so cases per roughly per judge. I mean, it's astronomical. They can't possibly get through those number of pending immigration cases. And ideally, a lot of the sources that I talked to said that if the system were to work well, they would have more like 2,000 to 3,000 immigration judges across the country to handle this massive caseload.
Of course, it's been no secret the Trump administration wants to speed up deportations, and the immigration system has been dysfunctional for years over the course of multiple administrations. But you're reporting that the new steps that this administration is taking is actually making things even worse. It's actually almost self-defeating for what the president's trying to accomplish, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. So what the administration is essentially doing is increasing the number of people that are detained, which is adding, of course, to the backlog of cases. And so they're causing strain on the system in a number of ways, Anna. One is that they're trying to increase expedited removal, including expanding the number of people that could potentially qualify for expedited removal to not just recent arrivals, but to people who are even had legal status in the country, so adding to the caseload there. They're also potentially increasing the number of days that an immigrant, an undocumented migrant, would be in detention. And they've put pressure on judges to not grant bond to immigrants that are currently being detained. And that is increasing the number of time that immigrants are being in detention facilities. And what it also means is that they're trying to get people to self-deport. One immigration attorney I talked to in Los Angeles said that the longer an undocumented immigrant is in detention, the more likely they are to end up signing voluntary deportation paperwork.
And we're already seeing overcrowding in these detention facilities. We were just reporting last hour about one here in New York. Not enough beds, not enough food even. How long does it typically take for a case to work its way through the system, Lauren? How is it typically or traditionally handled?
So it depends on if the person who's going through immigration proceedings is detained or not detained. If, say, they have an asylum case pending before immigration court, sometimes that can take anywhere from months to years to be processed through the system, given the backlog. If an immigrant is detained, then that means that they are supposed to get a bit more of a speedy process through the immigration courts. But again, this can take a very long time. And giving due process to undocumented immigrants, which is something that is afforded under the Constitution, it is essentially seen as an obstacle by the administration because of the fact that they want these deportations to occur so quickly.
I know you've been talking to many former immigration judges. What are their greatest fears right now?
Well, their biggest fear is that this immigration court system, as it has existed essentially for the last 50 or so years, could essentially collapse. And that means that due process will also not be afforded to immigrants through this system. And without due process afforded to undocumented immigrants, they argue that what comes next could be due process erosion for U.S. citizens. Mind you, a number of U.S. citizens have also been arrested and detained since Trump took office, and they as well will get their day in immigration court if they end up being detained for a certain period of time. And in immigration court, U.S. citizens are also able to prove that they are a U.S. citizen if it reaches that point. But one of the biggest fears also, Anna, is that essentially the administration, which they could do through regulation, may very well decide to change the qualifications for immigration judges, making it so they can hire who they want to replace these fired immigration judges. And they could end up replacing them with more loyal officials, people who don't necessarily have to be lawyers, and people who rule in the way that the administration wants them to rule on these cases.
Laura Barón Lopez, great reporting. Thank you very much.